famous rose garden. It's been famous for a long time. They let it get a little bit out of control, but now it's brought back to the highest level. And where you're standing or sitting right now is white stone, and that was grass. And the problem with it is you couldn't walk on it because this is built on a wetland, and the grass was always soaking wet. It didn't matter. It was always soaking wet, absolutely. And so when Brooke Rollins would get up and start making a magnificent speech, and she'd be standing in mud, and she'd say, "I ruined my shoes," her speeches would never be as good as they could have been because she was always concerned about ruining her shoes. But people would come here, women would come with the high heels, and it wasn't a pretty picture. So after about 150 years, we gave up on the grass, so we said, let's build it so we can use it. And now we have lunches here, we have dinners here, and it's nice and it's cool. The white reflects the sun, so you don't. Well, it does go in my eye right now. I noticed. I didn't anticipate that, but it's a great place. It's a great place, and we do news conferences. We do everything, and right up here, you probably noticed the new black granite, and it's been so well received. People can't even believe it because the stones were all broken and really in bad disrepair, and it's really become great. And we added the pictures of the presidents from George Washington to a guy named Trump, and people really they've loved it. We call it the Presidential Wall of Fame or Walk of Fame. We say you can call it either. Do you like walk or wall? Ready? Walk. Presidential Walk of Fame. Presidential Wall of Fame. Same. That's the same. I would call that a tie. But I want to thank you all for being here. It's amazing. The weekend we celebrate Mother's Day, honoring the women who raised us and all of the wonderful mothers in our lives, of millions of American families. Sunday will be filled with love and gratitude and joy. I had a great mother, by the way. And today we're honored to be joined by many strong and truly heroic moms who have stood up for their children, both in life and in a very profound loss. Very, very terrible in many just terrible loss, in many cases. And we have a lot of the greatest people on earth, angel moms. They're with us today. They're great people. They've been through so much, and I got to know so many of you during my first days of running. I got to know you and I got to love you. But we want to thank you for being here. Mother's Day is one of the great days. I always think so fondly of my mother. I had a wonderful mother. Among those with us this afternoon are a number of the angel moms who saw their precious children stolen from them by the open border policies of the radical left. Open borders, I call them stupid borders, not open. I call them stupid borders, by stupid people that put them there, and the migrant criminals that let them pour into our country, and bad things happened. Bad things happened. 25 million people came into our country. Many of them were criminals. Many of them were murderers. They allowed them in with their open border policy of stupidity. These incredibly brave and resilient women have turned terrible tragedy into unyielding resolve, becoming advocates so that their mothers do not have to endure the same heartache that they've felt all their lives. They've felt for so long. They've raised the most beautiful child that's taken, and they've spent so many years. In many cases, I see some of you I've known you for years, and others are unfortunately new members of that club. And I say unfortunately, it's a sad thing. Should have never happened. Should have never happened. In their honor, we've rapidly turned the worst and most dangerous border in the history of our country into the strongest border in American history. We have no people come in during the last 11 months. We have zero. Nobody even tries to come up. You used to read about the thousands of people that would pour in and they just come up in caravans. I think it was my name. I came up with it. It looked like a caravan. 25, 30,000 people pouring up. They walk through Mexico. They come from all different locations, come from all over the world, actually. But they came in through our southern border. They'd come up and just let them walk in. They'd walk in. Nobody had any idea who they were. They were murderers. 11,888 murderers. They were allowed to come into our country. We've gotten a lot of them out. Many of them murdered more than one person. What a shame. What a disgusting shame. That people can even think that this is okay is pretty incredible. But for the past 12 months, we've had that's been our number. And these numbers are done by people that the numbers when I say zero, I actually mean zero. It's hard to believe actually, but they're done by people that they tend to be somewhat on the left, so they're not going to give us a fair shake. And they say that people don't come anymore because they know they're not going to get through. So when they know they're not going to get through, they just don't come. And just on that, we save a lot of lives because some of that journey up from Honduras and El Salvador and lots of other countries, or from the Congo, where they drop them there and they walk up and they come through our country. They emptied the prisons of the Congo into the area of the southern border and then told them to just walk in because stupid Americans are going to accept you beautifully. And these were hard, mean, vicious criminals they allowed into our country. How anybody can vote for these people is hard to believe, okay? It's hard to believe. But to a friend of mine, Marianne Mendoza. Marianne, where is Marianne? Where are you, Marianne? I got to know you right from the beginning, right? And I won't ask her that, but I would often ask, is it easier with time? Because time has gone by. Marianne, no, it's not. Sadly, it's not. You always hear it with time, but a lot of people say it's not. It's not easier. But you're a special woman. I've gotten to be a friend of yours. You're a special woman. What you have to go through is disgraceful. Tammy Nobles. Tammy, are you here? Tammy Nobles. Right. Does time help, Tammy? No. It used to be, time heals all wounds, right? But it doesn't when you love somebody that much, it doesn't help like it should. Jacqueline Medina, a great person. Where's Jacqueline? Jacqueline, where are you? Thank you, darling. Thank you. And so many others, and I want to thank you for coming. And I don't think you've been treated properly. It's hard to believe, but the angel moms have not been treated properly. But this president treats you properly. I can't speak for others, but this one treats you properly. And we love you all, and all I can say is our hearts are out to you on Mother's Day, and you have a good Mother's Day. Go and have a good Mother's Day. In securing our border, we've also made tremendous strides in stopping the flow of illegal drugs into our country. The flood of deadly fentanyl across our border is down by 59%, and the drugs coming in by sea are down by 97%. 97%. And we're trying to figure out who the 3% are because they are the bravest people on earth. You see how we stop them by sea. For years they'd go and catch the boat, bring them to court, they'd go in, they'd go out. By the time of the evening, they'd be back on another boat, bringing drugs in. So we gave them warning, and we don't do that anymore. We do it much more efficiently. But think of that, down by sea. A lot of them came in, about 50%. It's down 97. Now we've started a very strong. The sea was more difficult, and now we've started land, and you'll see it coming down. It's come down a lot, but you'll see it coming down. They come through Mexico for the most part. We have a problem because the cartels rule Mexico, and nobody else. The cartels, they just rule it, and we lose 200,000 people a year through this poison that pours into our country. So we have the sea done, meaning the ocean, the waterways, pretty much done 97%, and we're going to have the land done very soon. I want to thank the brave moms fighting the epidemic of drug addiction here, and this afternoon, including Ann Funder. Ann, you here someplace? Ann Funder does a great job. Wow, good. That's a great job you do, Ann. Stephanie Rowe. Stephanie, thank you. Thank you, Stephanie. Thank you. Behind the cameras there, Stephanie. Thank you very much. And a friend of mine, Jackie Siegel, who's a great mom, great mother. Thank you, Jackie. I've known her for a long time. She looks better now than she did 20 years ago, right? Thank you very much, Jackie. Last summer, it was my great honor to sign the Halt Fentanyl Act into law, and we'll never give up on that mission for ending the drug epidemic in America. We've come a long way, though. We've stopped massive amounts of drugs from coming in. This afternoon, we're also joined by some of the most extraordinary mothers our nation has ever produced, our cherished Gold Star moms. These are Gold Star moms. These mothers raised up children so selfless and so devoted that they volunteered to wear the uniform of our nation and lay down their lives for all of us. One of those mothers is Janice Chance. Janice? Where's Janice? Thank you. Thank you, Janice. Hi, you look great. That's a beautiful hat. Thank you, Janice. Who lost her son, Marine Captain Jesse Melton. And I heard he was an outstanding. They give me lists and they tell me about people. You know, they said that Jesse was outstanding, Janice. They have the word outstanding. Thank you for being here. Just before he went to Afghanistan in 2008, Jesse told his mother, Mom, I want to go change the world and make it an even better place. I want to make it a better place, Mom. Just before his 30th birthday, even though he had the day off, Jesse volunteered to take the place of a fellow Marine, and that of his brother-in-arms could be present for the birth of a daughter. That day, Jesse gave his life for our country. Jesse was struck down that day by helping somebody else. And Janice, I want to say America is a strong and free nation today because of people like your great son, and we want to thank you for being here. Thank you very much. I also want to express my love for the moms with us whose extraordinary heroes gave their lives in the terrorist attack at Abbey Gate in Afghanistan. I got to know you very well. Very well. And these are phenomenal people. We went to a club I own in Bedminster, New Jersey, which is beautiful. They played music. They said, you actually think he's coming out? They said, yes. And I was going to do just to stop by and say hello. And we ended up listening to music for 4 hours on that beautiful night, looking at the sky, thinking about those wonderful people. Abbey Gate, very well known. Should have never happened. That should have never happened. That was incompetence by the Biden administration. So to Alice Lopez, you know that, right? Yeah, we know that. To Alicia Lopez and Paula Knaus, Self, Coral, Persino, and to all of the Abbey Gate moms, we're thinking of you on this Mother's Day. And again, we had you to the White House. We had you to, I was over at a very beautiful cemetery, as beautiful as they can be, but, you know, it's a sad occasion. We went over and we paid our respects, but we lost great people that day. We shouldn't have lost any people that day. Gross incompetence. This Mother's Day, we're thinking of all of those incredible moms, and we're doing everything in our power to support them and millions of other mothers all across America. And we're blessed to have many wonderful mothers serving in this administration, including Secretary of Agriculture, Brooke Rollins, who's doing a phenomenal job. Thank you very much. And the first woman ever to serve as a White House Chief of Staff. She's become a legend, Susie Wiles. She's amazing. To help American families and mothers, we passed a great, big, beautiful bill, the largest tax cuts in American history. We expanded the child tax credit to $2,200 from a much lower number per child, and delivered the largest expansion of school choice in American history. We have school choice all over now. We had virtually none. Everybody loves school choice. With accounts, we have a very special thing, the Trump accounts, where we're helping families to set aside tax advantage savings for their children's future, and we are giving every American newborn child $1,000 automatically to invest and to grow over the course of their lives. And I want to thank the Dell family. It's a great family. He is amazing. She is amazing. They've done such a job on that. They put up a lot of money too. Put up 6,250,000,000. That's somebody. And he started making computers on his bed in college and selling them because they were better than other computers. And I said, "How did you do that?" He said, "Well, I did it, and I just never stopped. It just kept going." So go out and buy a Dell. They're great. We're also working to make it easier than ever before to start a family by lowering the price of IVF, cutting regulatory battles and barriers, and fighting to bring down the cost of living so that more Americans can pursue the dream of, and it's a dream of living just a good life, maybe a great life. We cut drug prices now with the favored nations, most favored nations. We cut them by 70, 80, 90%. You could say 500%, 600, depending on the way you phrase the statement. But we now play. When I was here, this was a big ambition. Right at the beginning, I was able to cut them a little bit, but I didn't cut them. I cut them more than anybody else, which was a little bit. Because for 28 years, drug prices and prescription drugs only went in one direction. And when I came back, we now did something that everybody said was impossible. Favored nations. We had the highest drug prices in the world by far. Now we have the lowest drug prices in the world. Can you imagine? So we cut them by 50, 60, 70%, and go out and you'll see exactly. It's one of the big. I think it's one of the biggest things that we've done. Drugs that were costing in London $10 for a pill would cost $130 for a pill in the United States. And now, if it's $10 or if it's $20, that's what we pay. We pay the lowest price anywhere in the world, so it's great. And the fake news doesn't want to write about it, but that's why I talk about it, because we have no choice. We have to. So I just want to, again, I want to thank everybody for being here. It's so important. We do things like we keep men out of women's sports, a very popular issue. We stopped transgender mutilization of your children for everyone. We don't have that. But I want to thank every single mother here this afternoon and all across our nation for your work every single day. America's moms are really raising the future of our country, the most important. You have the most, we don't call it a job because when you love it, it's not a job, but for this purpose, you have the most important job there is in America or any place else, and you're doing an incredible job. I just want to wish you all a very happy Mother's Day. We're going to have a great Mother's Day, and for those mothers that lost their child, many of whom are with us today, the angel moms and others, gold star moms, we love you especially. We love you maybe even the most. Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate it.
We were just listening in to some of those remarks from President Trump. Let's slide away for a quick 2-minute commercial break.
At least SafeLight can come to you for free.
They can come to me for free?
That's right. SafeLight can come to you for free, so you can get your windshield fixed anywhere you want at no additional cost. For free mobile service, go to safelight.com.
SafeLight Repair, SafeLight Replace.
I've always had an interest for skydiving. I didn't have the means to make it happen. The personal loan through Mariner really gave me that jump start I needed. Mariner Finance, real customers, real dreams.
A quiet evening at home. Everything feels private. But on the internet, your life is out in the open, exposed to strangers. Your home address, your family data, all easily found online. But there's a better way to protect your privacy. Incogni finds websites exposing you and helps get your data removed from you, neutralizing threats before they reach you. Because if they can't find you, they can't harm you.
At University of Maryland Global Campus, our students know that every new skill they learn is a new opportunity to further advance their career. That's why we offer an affordable, skills-based education that helps working adults adapt to the growing demands of today's job market. In UMGC's online programs, you can learn how to apply emerging technology like data science and AI so you can succeed again. No application fee if you apply by June 1st at umgc.edu.
Design you feel in every detail. Technology as innovative as it is effortless. These are luxuries you don't have to wait for. This is Buick now. Buick, exceptional by design. Current eligible lessees get this ultra-low mileage lease on this 2026 Buick Envista Preferred for around $219 per month.
Let's take a live look over the Capitol building here. This is, of course, in D.C. as Alabama lawmakers looking to take part in a national redistricting battle could vote today on a plan to alter states' congressional primaries if the courts allow Republican state officials to switch to more advantageous U.S. House maps ahead of the November midterm elections. The Alabama legislation, which needs only a final Senate vote to go to Republican Governor Kay Ivey, seeks to leverage a recent U.S. Supreme Court ruling in a Louisiana case that significantly weakened Voting Rights Act protections for minorities. Republicans in southern states have moved quickly to try to capitalize on the case. Tennessee enacted new congressional districts Thursday that carve up a Democratic-held black majority district over in Memphis. Louisiana postponed its U.S. House primaries as lawmakers work to enact new districts, and Republicans in the South Carolina House also have proposed a new U.S. House map. So this is all taking place nationwide here, and I want to talk a little bit more about it overall. Casey Myers is a professor of public relations and director of graduate studies at Virginia Tech's School of Communication, joining us live to help break all of this down. Casey, as always, thank you so much for taking the time to be here.
Thank you for having me.
And first off, I want to kind of go back to basics for folks who are just getting kind of bits and pieces here. Can you explain overall what we're dealing with, the purpose behind this, and really how all of this is played out?
Well, typically, districts are redrawn every 10 years in conjunction with the census. And so what has happened in 2026, just given the politics and the sort of the political environment that we're in, there have been these redistricting efforts that have been made. Now, this started off as a redistricting effort to gain Democratic seats or Republican seats, depending on the state. We saw that in California. We saw that in Texas. And what that was an effort drawn by the state legislatures. Oftentimes, there had to be a referendum. We've seen that in Virginia, which is now ongoing, and the Virginia Supreme Court is actually reviewing the process that went through. This going on in the southern states with Tennessee and with Louisiana and Alabama is a reaction to a Supreme Court case, that Louisiana Supreme Court case, which allows for a redistricting in a way that doesn't take into account or takes less into account this voting rights section 2, which kind of changes the nature of the way that districts can be drawn. So it has really been a domino effect with a lot of different moving parts, and the ultimate kind of goal here is control of the House of Representatives come November.
And that begs the next question here. What can we expect? Could this actually change the balance of power if, let's say, every state were to do it? Is that changing the balance of power in any way there in Congress?
Absolutely. There's always that potential. And so what's happened is that we've seen partisan driven, congressional maps before. That's just part of American politics. But these maps are hyper partisan, where you have no Republicans or no Democrats in the congressional delegation, or at least not one that's going to be competitive in a district. You have redrawn maps where you may have people that were in different districts now in the same district having to run in a primary against each other. So what this has really created is a real frenzy around drawing a map that gives net advantages to one party or another. Now, the end result, though, we don't know. So it depends on how fast they can do it. And as you were talking about, this is really up against a timeline here. And so they may run out of time to get this all done, to get this through the state legislative process. And again, they're also up against these deadlines for filing, deadlines for primary elections, and of course, the November election.
And what you're looking at right now is a post from Fox Nashville, the station there, as they say Governor Bill Lee signed Tennessee's controversial new congressional district map into law Thursday officially redrawing Shelby County, home to Memphis, into 3 Republican-controlled districts ahead of the 2026 election cycle. Now, this is happening, as we mentioned, in several different states. So can you break down for folks out there the points that the different parties, the people who are for this, the people who are against it, in each state, what exactly is the argument there?
Well, the argument is really very political. You hear Democrats say Republicans started this with this redrawing of districts. Republicans say we have to counteract what the Democrats are doing. Again, I think that a lot of people are looking at this through the lens of the 2026 election. They're saying this is a high stakes midterm election. So, what's this going to mean for Congress? What's this going to mean for the Trump administration? And again, it's highly unusual to do this decade. This has never been done before this way, and it's just sort of set off, like I said, this domino from state to state. I think that there's also this sense that those who have resisted, even those who have resisted their own party, saying, I don't believe in this kind of redistricting, they have been challenged by their own party in many cases, and so we have seen a real, I think, both parties actively pursuing this in many states, just given the political stakes and also given the midterm consequences for the House.
What would you say when, I guess, asked if the average American why they should be paying attention to this? Because a lot of people hear redistricting and, we'll be honest, they kind of tune out. They don't know all the kind of back and forth that's been going on. So why should the average American pay attention to all of this?
Well, I think for reasons of representation primarily, right? So this is the representatives of the people in Congress, and there's always this conversation around congressional districts. Do they really represent the constituents that are in that district, depending on how it's drawn? So you have some of these districts that are drawn in these kind of unique ways to get a partisan advantage, but it really is not a community. It's really not something that's representative of that area. And we've seen some of those drawn where you have a very highly densely urban area drawn out into a rural area, and all these other kind of gerrymandered districts. I think also the importance here is rooted in this idea of, what does it mean? What are we trying to do in congressional elections? Is it just sort of a net advantage for one political party or another? Or is the real purpose here about representation, having competitive elections? These districts are drawn in a way that are very uncompetitive for one party or another, depending on the state you're talking about. And so there's a real controversy around that. And that doesn't matter if it's a democratically drawn district map like what we are seeing in Virginia, or a very Republican favored congressional map like we are seeing in Tennessee.
This kind of also begs the question, because as you mentioned, we're doing this earlier in many states than it's been done in the past. Does this kind of set a precedent for the future when it comes to this kind of thing, redrawing those maps?
Absolutely, and it has really done a couple of things. It's upended the kind of traditional 10-year cycle. It's also given a lot of attention, I think, to state legislative races and state legislatures in general, which are really something that's not covered at the national level very much, and not even sometimes at the state level. So the impact of this is significant. I think it's a new political reality, and it's a political reality driven by net advantage, by district drawing, and also these sort of political winds that shift. Are we going to now see different districts every 2 years? And again, we're up against a timetable in 2026 where we may not see the full effect of this. It may be until 2028 when we see how this really shapes out. And so I'm looking for that long term. And this started in a way where there wasn't a lot of time left to do many of these changes. When we were looking in the future, what is that going to look like? We may see more of this.
Also wanted to ask you here while I have you, you are a true